You are now listening to the Thomas Greenwood podcast.
Could you just back up a little bit? I can't fit in. Hey, I need some more space. Could you just slip it into reverse? Keep going, mate. A little bit further. Just go till the end of times, mate. That's all you gotta do. We're going to talk about legacy systems, the Catholic Church, and Ampleforth, the monastery, and the split from monastery. This video podcast is not about attacking the Christian faith or religions or the elitism. It's about attacking the system which elitism and religions are a part of. They're just expressions of a much larger problem. And because it's very difficult to see the system in its full form, because it's very complex and it's very intricate and it's a network of problems, a spider's web, you therefore have to look at isolated problems like the Ampleforth problem. And that isolated problem can give you an idea of the macro problem. These micro problems can give you a good idea of the macro problem because they're expressions. It's like a fractal. You can look at the problem on a small scale and then you can see that problem on a larger scale if you magnify it. So Ampleforth is just a way of getting in to see the system for what it is. A legacy system is something that is obsolete, but is still used out of tradition or difficulty to replace it. Something like a pilot, something like a train driver. We don't need those people anymore. We've got technology that can replace them. But because of tradition, because of the work, because people feel safer with those people, we then keep them. It's the same thing as money. We don't actually need physical money anymore because we've got smart technology. And part of the fourth industrial revolution that we're going through at the moment and COVID is pushing the physical money into the crypto money, and we're going to see the crypto money take off and we're going to see the dissolution of physical money. So that's what a legacy system is generally. So you have Ampleforth, which is a school, and it stands for many things. It stands for nobility, for elitism, for rich people. It stands for morals. It stands for getting people into the army, for running the world, for politicians, for tradition, for history. But the school is also one large lie. It lies. And there's a big problem between lying in an upper class world and lying in a lower class world. The lower class people are seen to be the thieves, the carjackers, the petty criminals. The big criminals are the people like Tony Blair that take countries to war and massacre hundreds of thousands of other people and empty the British till to go and spend on missiles to blow people up. So if you commit large crimes, you don't get in trouble for it. But if you commit small crimes, you do get into trouble. And the reason is because the people that run the country, the elite people, their friends are doing that. So therefore those blind eyes are turned. Ampleforth says it's a school. It says it educates people, but it doesn't educate people. It trains people to run the system. It trains people to go and maintain the system. We're trained since we're young to trust doctors, trust politicians, trust the school teachers, trust the headmaster, anyone that's got power, we're supposed to trust. And Ampleforth, it has a lot of power. It has the ability to go and get politicians to speak for it on its behalf in Parliament. We therefore think that these types of people don't lie, but they do. Ampleforth were told to separate the church abbey and the school because of the sexual abuse. On paper they did it, but in reality they didn't, and that's a lie.
There were damning words at the independent child abuse inquiry. It concluded child sex abuse by monks at Ampleforth was blatant, open and going on for decades. They said to protect children, school and abbey must be separate.
This is Claire Fallon from Channel 4 News.
The school says that's been done, but this programme has seen letters sent to the Education Secretary making new allegations, claiming Ampleforth College has given a partial and misleading account of the governance situation, claiming that it has no effective means of acting independently of the Abbey, and alleging it is most questionable whether this is a state of affairs in which the safety of the pupils can be reasonably assured.
The other problem is that a lot of people that send their kids to Ampleforth want the to be a vertical integration between the church and their children, because they see that Catholicism is a good thing and they want to implant it into their children. So they turn a blind eye. In fact, the Catholics seem to be a little bit resentful that the outside world dares to interrupt in its little game. In Jonathan and West's words.
Yes, I mean, there was a clear impression that they regarded themselves, regarded Ampleforth as a law unto itself, that outside rules and outside didn't really apply, and outside interference was not welcome. The impression that they gave was that they regarded such outside advice as wrong by definition and something of an impertinence.
A legacy system gets carried down intergenerationally. The Benedictines have been around 1,400 years. They've got systems that get carried down within the generations of monks. It's been stopped and thwarted by the public because they've been abusing children, and the Catholic Benedictines are a bit peed off about it. And so what they've done to get around the problem, they've created a trust, which is the Abbey Trust. And the Abbey Trust then appoints the people or the trustees of another trust called the St. Lawrence Educational Trust. The St. Lawrence Educational Trust then picks the head teacher for Ampleforth School. So in effect, the monks pick other trustees, those trustees pick the headmaster. Now, the other trustees that the monks pick are old boys or wives of old boys, and those people are going to pick someone who's like-minded. Therefore, this intergenerational mind ideology is passed to those children indirectly by being able to steer the ship, which is Ampleforth, in a particular direction that the monks wanted to go in. Therefore, the monastery and the school have not separated. These legacy systems are responsible for the sexual abuse. The school has done a PR coup by getting non-Catholics into the school. So therefore, when you go to the school and you say, you bad Catholics, look what you've done, the school turns around and says, yeah, but we're not all Catholic anymore. It's like if you're a racist and you go, I'm not racist, I've got a black friend. As if having a black friend stops you from being racist. As if having 30% of the school which isn't Catholic, suddenly stops Catholic ideology. You don't have to be a Catholic to have Catholic ideology. The mind patterns can flow through the generations and through people. It's just that Catholicism is the host that holds it. It's just a characteristic in which these ideologies are expressed. The same ideologies are expressed through Islam, through Judaism, through Buddhism, through Hinduism, through Christianity. It doesn't matter what religion you are, it just matters that you are a religion and that you hold your faith in something other than yourself, outside of yourself. You give your faith to something else and negate to a very large degree your self-autonomy over your life. And that is the essence of what these religions are in a very bad light. There are some good things about them. The headmaster keeps saying that he is not at the mercy of other people. He probably isn't. I doubt very much he is. He probably thinks that he has a lot of autonomy, and he does have a lot of autonomy for his thoughts, but his thoughts, his personality, his character has been specifically chosen by the trustees of St. Lawrence and the Abbey, so that when he goes and makes a decision, that decision is in line with the ideology that they have. So on one level, yeah, he does have freedom to do what he wants, but his cosmovision, his behavior is going to be something that the monks want. So they will give him that freedom because they know through that freedom and through his choices, he'll carry out an agenda which they want. Legacy systems. The Catholic Church is not a religion, it's a business. The school is not a school, it's a business. The school has 600 students. It charges £33,000 a year. That's about 18 million that's coming in. These are businesses. These are not schools. It sells school, it sells education, it sells Christianity, just like the Vatican does. But Jesus never had a bank account, but the Vatican does. And it's got billions in it. Talk about Jesus being angry when there were people making money outside his temple. Now he's got banks inside his temple and in cities that are now special temples. So this idea of what the Catholics are doing, it's completely inverted Christianity. And what you're getting is a lie. They're selling something that really isn't, in order to get money, to get power, to program children, in order to send those programmed children out into society with a particular mentality that's been molded through the education system in order to further the system. These legacy systems, they carry through the school through the teachers, staff, but most of all through the students. There is intergenerational mind patterns that get passed down, that are embedded within the structure and the character of the school. From St. Benedict to the modern monks today, there is an unbroken chain of 1,400 years. And there is also an unbroken chain of the students that arrived in 1802 until 2021. You've got over 200 years of brain patterns that have been passed through generation to generation. Now, within those systems, within those legacy systems, within those patterns of thought, sexual abuse is embedded somewhere. Because this virus of sexual abuse is buried within the traditions and the legacy systems of Ampleforth, and many parents send their children there for these legacy systems, for this tradition, you therefore find it very difficult to be able to clean out the tradition and the system and the sexual abuse because they're intertwined. If you get rid of the sexual abuse, then you have to get rid of the tradition, because you can't really, it seems, get rid of one without the other.
It's going to be very, very difficult to root it out. Independent schools being independent, the range of measures that the Department for Education has available to it is really very, very narrow. I mean, broadly speaking, there are only three things that they can do. They can issue a warning, and they did that to Ampleforth in 2019. Issue a ban on new pupils, which they did in November 2020. And ultimately, the final power that they have is to deregister the school.
Even if you get rid of the staff and the structure, the students still carry down some of those traditions. To get rid of all of this, you'd probably nearly need to destroy Ampleforth. Another legacy system, the monks have a particular attitude as to how they should be portrayed by the general public. And trying to be able to get out of the monks exactly what's going on and what the abuse has been has proved very hard. And these monks pass on this silence to the next generation of monks, which allows sexual abuse to fester within their own monastery. If the monks wanted to get rid of sexual abuse, then the monks would be more forthcoming with information instead of stalling the police and withholding the information in order to protect themselves. So the monks do not have the interest of the children at heart. The monks have their interests at heart. And that is why the school needs to be separated from the monastery, as Jonathan West says.
Well, yes. I mean, if the monks are appointing the trustees for the school, they are going to be tending to appoint like-minded people. And so it's inevitable that some vestiges of that culture remain in the way that the school goes about its business.
If the monks have that type of ideology, then the people that they pick in the trust will probably also mirror some of that ideology. And then the trust people will also pick a headmaster that mirror that type of ideology. So you can see how these ideologies are passed in various guises indirectly through various trusts in order to take over the school and in order to steer it forth with a particular character that will benefit the monks.